Next, bad news for young people in our cities, and especially Nottingham. A new report by a think tank that advises the government says the city is the worst place in England when it comes to providing opportunities for young people. Well, Sarah's got more for us on this now.
Thanks, Maurice. Well, this report's called the Youth Opportunity Index from the Learning and Work Institute, an independent group that studies education and employment. And they've compiled 7 types of national statistics like exam results, quality of employment, and the number of young people not working, learning or training. Now, they've ranked 150 local authority areas across England, and Nottingham has come out worst. In fact, it ranks in the bottom 10 nationally for all the measures.
And there you have it. Nottingham is the bottom of the pile, the lowest of the low, 150th out of 150. Nottingham Criminal Cartel clearly is an absolute disgrace, and they want sacking the lot of them. No doubt they'll blame someone else though, because they normally do. It's like the children that get raped. They blame the children for being there and being provocative. That's how corrupt Nottingham Criminal Cartel is.
Apart from apprenticeships. And it's not good news either in Leicester or Derby. Out of 150, they're ranked 132nd and 124th, respectively. At the other end of the scale, though, Rutland was ranked 17th best in the country.
I think it is concerning because the prospects for young people don't just matter for them, though that's really critical. If we don't improve opportunities for young people, we're storing up problems for the long term for our economy and for our local communities. So this is really a call to action to say how can we do better and to increase our urgency of action.
So what does Nottingham City Council say? Well, they haven't given us an interview on this tonight, but in a statement they said the findings are regrettable but not surprising, and blamed what it believes is unfair government funding in the most deprived areas. Well, we asked some young people in the city whether they felt their opportunities were reduced.
And there you have it. Regrettable but not surprising, and it's somebody else's fault. What a shock. Nottingham corrupt criminal cartel are blaming others, anyone else but themselves, because the buck never stops with Nottingham Criminal Cartel. They always push it off and pass it off to someone else. Well, it's just not being a very good year for Nottingham corrupt criminal cartel, has it? But I'm enjoying it.
There's 2 universities and there's lots of shops around with jobs going at the minute, so probably, yeah.
After graduating, I think I'll probably move home and then go from there. Let's see, really, I can't really look that far ahead.
Besides the university, which is really good, it's got really good rates. That's about it, I feel. Job-wise, it's really hard, I think.
The Derby is really good. I'm not really that sure about Nottingham. I've heard like good and bad things. Education's good though. You've got both universities.
I wouldn't want to get a job here. I want to move away. It's hard to get jobs nowadays because they're asking for so much requirements, and as a young person, the job opportunities, and try and balance it with college work is hard as well.
Well, unfortunately, there was more gloomy news for the region today. Every year, the Office for National Statistics releases a major survey in hours and earnings. This year, it shows that the East Midlands has a higher proportion of low-paid jobs in the whole of England. About 22.5% of people are in low-paid jobs, compared with a UK average of 17.8%. Now, 18 years ago, though, that figure was much worse. Back then, 32.5% of the region's jobs were classified as low-paid. So 1 in 3 has become 1 in 5. Now, that's broadly in line with everywhere else, but a few regions have done better than that, leaving us struggling with an economic inheritance of low skills and low pay. Maurice. Next tonight, there have been angry exchanges as the council today defended its record at the child sex abuse inquiry. It's denied putting Nottingham's reputation before the needs of survivors or trying to wear them down by dragging out compensation claims.
And today, another council boss revealed that he broke down in tears after hearing evidence from some of the victims. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball has been following the inquiry for us in London. Jeremy, there have been yet more apologies today, haven't there?
Yeah, Maurice, this time from Alison Michalska, who's in charge of the care system in the city of Nottingham, and she talks about dreadful evidence from one man who was abused by his foster father, from another who was pressured not to tell the police about his abuse at the Beechwood Children's Home. And she was asked why it took up to 7 years for some victims to get compensation.
All of that process has added to their suffering, hasn't it?
The whole litigious nature of this, I think, is wholly inappropriate in the circumstances of these claims. The whole process around civil claims, I think, is in need of a huge overhaul. I've made some comment around that in my statements. Processes there might be.
Well, has your objective been to wear people down? To stop
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I find that wholly offensive.
You know what I find wholly offensive? The fact that you know about the child abuse and you've been protecting the paedophiles in Nottingham's Criminal Cartel, and now you're just blatantly lying to make it look like you're the victim. Yes, just like Baby F, who's now a vegetable, brain damaged beyond belief because of you. Oh, Baby F, just look it up and you'll find out how evil this thing is.
Now, you can hear survivors weren't happy with that. A lot of them were also unhappy they couldn't get hold of their old council records. And Alison Michalska said that was because until 1974, those records were routinely destroyed. She also said the Beechwood Children's Home should have been shut down years before it was. And this morning, some last-minute evidence from the City Council was submitted to the inquiry. Now, the chair, Alexis Jay, said that was very unsatisfactory. And one of the victims' barristers said it didn't leave time to give a proper response.
It has caused real distress and panic, frankly, amongst many of the victims and survivors, receiving it in this way at this time. There is great dissatisfaction at this 11th-hour, hurtful and shoddy approach to giving witness evidence.
And as you can see, even when they get caught, they still try and push it away and make it as difficult as they can for the survivors. You know, those men, women that have suffered at the hands of Nottingham Criminal Cartel's employers who raped, abused and physically, they're just gross. But even then, they do this, pull this sort of shit to make the survivors that are still there as uncomfortable as possible. This is the type of shit we get at Nottingham Criminal Cartel, and I've witnessed a lot of this shit with Mickey Summers. So don't be surprised at how much shit they'll pull and what moves they'll pull to try and get themselves out of it. But there's no getting away from it. They're caught good and proper, and they all not just want sacking, they should be locked in prison for the rest of their lives because they're all involved with this paedophile protection.
And Jeremy, you also heard today from the care boss at Nottinghamshire County Council.
Yeah, Colin Pettigrew said the compensation system simply isn't working. He talked about serious child abuse by care workers being treated in exactly the same way as someone tripping over a step. And he also said it was scandalous that victims get more if they were abused at a fee-paying school because their payments take loss of earnings into account. And he talked too about the personal impact on him of watching victims giving evidence.
In Asda's in West Bridgford, yeah, well, my wife phoned me and I tried to talk about the gentleman who came in and said, I entered this room as a victim, I'm leaving as a survivor. Yeah, I couldn't get the words out, I sobbed in the aisles of Asda's.
Now that's almost it from the child abuse inquiry. Tomorrow is its final day looking at Nottinghamshire's care system.
No doubt we'll hear from you then as well. Jeremy Wall, thank you.